China Airlines pilot strike affects flights between Hong Kong and Taiwan. In Thailand, a foray into politics by a member of the royal family. And both the UK and EU stand firm in Brexit talks.
Good evening. Taiwan's China Airlines has canceled more than 20 flights due to a pilot strike over working conditions. At least a dozen flights between Hong Kong and Taiwan have been affected today and will continue tomorrow. Pinky Wong has more details.
Stranded travelers anxiously trying to find alternative flights. Among them, those who were unable to board their flights transiting in Taipei to Tokyo. I found out the problem when I arrived at the airport this morning. The airline staff told us our seats were given to others. I'd paid for my seat and they made us wait here indefinitely. In Taiwan, the pilots' union Taoyuan announced the strike last night after it tried but failed to get the airline company to increase manpower for long-haul flights. A union representative said they have been striking to improve pilots' working conditions, as some have to work continuously for 12 hours. A number of flights between Hong Kong and Taiwan have been cancelled. This tour group of some 20 people had to make last-minute changes to the itinerary for their 5-day trip to Taiwan. Originally, we would start the tour in Kaohsiung and end it in Taipei. Now we are doing it the other way round, said the tour guide. It takes more flying time, but it's manageable, he added. China Airlines arranged for the group's flight changes. Even though their tour did not fall through, this participant thinks the strike will affect Taiwan's image. The travel agency reacted quickly, but it's not good for tourists to be affected, he said. China Airlines apologized for the inconvenience caused. The management of the company will meet with the pilots' union tomorrow afternoon. The Hong Kong Airport Authority called on passengers to check with airlines company's website for the latest information before heading out to the airport. Pinky Wong, TVB News.
Traveller numbers at 2 new control points hit a new high yesterday. The high-speed rail links West Kowloon Station received more than 104,000 passengers. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge also saw a new record with just under 160,000 travellers yesterday. This morning, a false alarm at the Hong Kong port area sparked a mass evacuation. Over at the Zhuhai port area, a glitch with the ticketing system for port-to-port shuttle buses also caused slight disruptions around midday.
Hong Kong saw its hottest 4th day of the Lunar New Year in 41 years. That's when the mercury hit 25.1 degrees Celsius in the urban areas this afternoon. In the New Territories, the temperature was as high as 28.5 degrees. However, the observatory is expecting cooler weather tomorrow, with temperatures ranging between 19 and 22 degrees.
The sister of Thailand's king is standing as a prime minister candidate in an unprecedented foray into politics by a member of the royal family. The nomination of a royal could transform an election that had been viewed as a straight fight between the royalist military establishment and the Populist Party loyal to an ousted former leader. It's a battle that pitches the princess against the general. The 67-year-old Princess Ubon Rajakanya, the eldest sister of King Vajiralongkorn, was nominated by the populist Thai Save the Nation party. It serves as the backup party for exiled former leader Thaksin Shinawatra for Thai's party, which replaced the People's Power Party that was dissolved in 2008 following Thaksin's 2006 ouster on corruption charges. The nomination of the princess is seen as a bold move by Thaksin loyalists to undercut the royalist appeal of the pro-establishment parties. Thaksin and his party have always rejected accusations by enemies of being opposed to the monarchy. For more than 15 years, Thailand has been rocked by street protests, military coups and violent clashes between Bangkok-centered royalist elites and Thaksin's more rural-based supporters. Political watchers are also guessing whether the princess's nomination was a bid to unify those divisions. Ubonrat relinquished her royal titles in 1972 when she married an American and moved to the United States before divorcing in 1998. She returned to Thailand permanently in 2001 and has performed her royal duties without regaining her full royal titles. An avid social media user and former soap opera star, the MIT graduate is often referred to as the daughter to the Queen Regent. Her main foe is the military-backed current Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, who announced his own candidacy earlier today. Under Thai law, Ubonrat is allowed to run for Prime Minister in the March 24th elections, despite not having a seat in Parliament. However, it's not yet clear if she has the King's approval, while the Election Commission is also required to endorse or reject all candidates by next Friday.
A U.S. think tank has accused China of sending a fleet of nearly 100 vessels to the disputed South China Sea to stop the Philippines from building facilities at one of the islands. This, according to the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative, run by the Washington-based Center for Strategic and International Studies. It claims Beijing sent as many as 95 vessels to parts of the Spratly chain of islands in mid-December. The Chinese fleet includes ships from the Navy and the Coast Guard, as well as dozens of fishing boats. U.S. monitors say the move was aimed at coercing Manila into stopping work on the island, which China also claims along with Vietnam.
Despite U.S. President Donald Trump's optimistic assessment of U.S.-China trade talks, they are due to resume in Beijing. The White House Chief of Economic Advisors says a sizable distance remains. Larry Kudlow also says it's not likely Trump will meet with President Xi Jinping when he travels to Asia for a second summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. That would put the March 1st deadline in the trade truce in jeopardy.
Well, the president has said a number of times that he expects to meet with President Xi on trade. When and where is totally up in the air at the moment. Does it depend on the meetings this week? I wouldn't want to say one way or another. It might. Hopefully the meetings will go well. As I say, we've got our varsity team is in there, Lighthizer, Mnuchin. So at some point, though, the two presidents, I'm sure, will meet.
Also in Washington, a group of Republican senators has asked House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi to invite Taiwan's leader Tsai Ing-wen to address a joint meeting of the U.S. Congress. The senators include Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Tom Cotton, John Cornyn and Cory Gardner. Their letter comes ahead of the next round of Sino-U.S. trade talks in Beijing next week. Such an invitation, if extended, is expected to anger Beijing. Aides to Pelosi did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Taiwan's foreign ministry said there is no plan for Tsai Ing-wen to visit Washington and deliver a speech in Congress.
Democrats in America launched a sweeping plan to combat climate change. Their goal is to steer the U.S. economy away from fossil fuels. It's called the Green New Deal. It's a 10-year plan aimed at replacing America's dependency on oil and coal with wind and solar power. The goal is to meet 100% of America's power demands with clean and renewable energy sources. The plan also urges giving every American national health care coverage, guaranteed jobs, high-quality education, and affordable housing. It was introduced by freshman Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and veteran Senator Ed Markey.
Our energy future will not be found in the dark of a mine, but in the light of the sun. Energy efficiency, smart power grids, clean and affordable public transit, clean cars and manufacturing, and working with key industries to eliminate pollution.
No, I think it is a green dream. All great American programs, everything from the Great Society to the New Deal, started with a vision for our future.
Venezuela's health system is in a state of collapse. Even though a U.S. shipment of medicine and food is at the border, President Nicolas Maduro is blocking its entry, calling it a political show aimed at weakening his leadership. Trucks filled with U.S. humanitarian aid for the people of Venezuela remain stuck at the border, blocked by shipping containers and a fuel tank. At the same time, millions of Venezuelans are sick and in desperate need of medicine and food, many on the brink of death. Some residents joined a protest at the border begging soldiers to allow the aid in. This woman says her mom is about to die if she doesn't get the medicine she needs. This woman is angry many will die, all because of a power struggle between Maduro and self-proclaimed President Juan Guaido. Meantime, Maduro denies a humanitarian crisis exists and says Venezuela is not a country of beggars. With his own soldiers defecting, there is word Maduro is so fearful of his own people, he's called on Cuban guards to serve as his security detail. After a meeting of the International Contact Group in Uruguay, the European Union's foreign policy chief called for organizing a fair election and to allow humanitarian aid to enter the country.
In its first meeting, the group took stock of the situation in the country and discussed how the group could best help in finding a peaceful path towards the holding of new presidential elections. The group also recognized that the humanitarian crisis that is deepening by the day, affecting millions of Venezuelans. The group expressed its commitment to mobilize further assistance in areas of need and coordinate its delivery.
In addition to U.S. sanctions on Venezuela's oil industry, U.S. President Donald Trump's administration will also impose a U.S. travel ban on some of Maduro's allies in an effort to pressure Maduro to give up the presidency.
Maduro has proven he will manipulate any call for negotiations to his advantage, and he has often used so-called dialogues as a way to play for time. We urge all involved to deal solely with the legitimate Guaido government. The time for dialogue with Maduro has long passed.
Britain and the European Union refused to budge towards any compromise over Brexit, but at least they agreed to continue talking as the March 29th deadline looms. The Sun newspaper in London reports British Prime Minister Theresa May approached the opposition Labour Party to put forward an amendment to her withdrawal motion. Alan Buckner reports.
Following a meeting with European Union leaders, British Prime Minister Theresa May vowed she would deliver the UK departure from the EU on time.
Today. We've had robust discussions, but they've been constructive. What I've set out is our clear position that we must secure legally binding changes to the withdrawal agreement to deal with the concerns that Parliament has over the backstop.
Following the meeting with May, European Council President Donald Tusk tweeted, "There was still no breakthrough in sight. Talks will continue." May said she confronted Tusk over the comment he made Wednesday when he wondered aloud what special place in hell might be reserved for those who backed Brexit with no idea how to deliver it.
Which was not helpful and caused widespread dismay in the United Kingdom. And the point I made to him is that we should both be working to ensure that we can deliver a close relationship between the United Kingdom and the European Union in the future, and that's what he should be focusing on.
Meanwhile, the Labour Party made public a letter written by opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn offering to support May's Brexit deal if she makes 5 legally binding commitments, including joining a customs union. While that's expected to infuriate hardline Brexiters in May's Conservative Party, European Union leaders welcomed it.
It's important now that this leads to a position in the UK that has the broadest possible majority.
The Sun newspaper reported that May is planning to support a new package of workers' rights in a deal with some members of the Labour Party. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
And still ahead in our newscast, cows look for food inside a Muiwo supermarket. Immigration officers smash a bogus marriage syndicate. And KMB announces plans to enhance safety for its fleet.
You're fired. Good luck in the new year.
When you're feeling down.
It's over.
What?
I'm done embarrassing myself. I'm done.
It's time to get up and dance. No Preservatives presents La La Land, Saturday, February the 16th, on Pearl's Movie of the Month. Living in the Himalayan forests are sacred monkeys and flamboyant birds. But most elusive are the red pandas. Tag along to see the world through Tashi's eyes. Tuesday, Red Panda, world's cutest animal, at 8:30 on Pearl.
Let's talk about language.
Can we speak to animals?
What are animals saying? Humpback whales have cultural transmission. Even the simplest of creatures seem to have a lot to say.
Wednesday, Nova Wonders, at 9:35 on Pearl.
想捐血，邊個捐血站至方便？點預約呢？想知答案，即刻下載全新流動應用程式 Hong Kong Blood， 隨時翻查自己捐血記錄，同提醒你下次捐血日期，仲可以喺全港9個捐血站預約捐血添。講咁多都係想方便你捐血啫，因為捐一次血可以救到3個人。即刻下載 Hong Kong Blood， 真係好得。
保、細保、大保、大細都保。銀行有存款就自動受保，保利高達港幣50萬，其他貨幣存款一樣保。存款受法律保障。
I would not want to live in Disneyland.
Moving all the way from Canada to the edge of the Sahara Desert, Mary Ann believes she has chosen a simpler way of life.
I was so fed up with people in suits. That was it. I was coming out here to hide.
Monday, Where the Wild Men Are, with Ben Fogle, Season 5, at 9:35 on Pearl. Should Hong Kong limit the number of mainland tourists? Roy Tam and Andy Kwan on Straight Talk, Tuesday night at 8 on Pearl.
Welcome back to TVB News. Lantau's never been short of cows, but a rare sighting last night sparked debate on whether the animals are a nuisance in Mui Wo. Elmi Long reports.
You'd expect cattle to munch on grass, not fruit, and certainly not ones inside a supermarket. But at least 3 cows did that inside a ParknShop store in Mui Wo. The clip taken by Miss Young last night has since gone viral. The longtime Mui Wo resident said nearby cows never disturbed people, but in recent days made more frequent trips to built-up areas and even saw them outside a fast food restaurant not too long ago.
People should learn to live with their animals like they do in other countries, like in India. The cow is sacred. So the cow here has been roaming freely for years. Should actually be allowed to roam the hills.
Instead of the hills, though, we saw some cows very close to village houses in Mui Wo. A member of the Mui Wo Rural Committee estimates there are 30 to 40 cows and buffaloes in the area, which may cause damage to crops, even in fenced-off farmland. He suggested the government should look into moving the herd further up the hills to reduce the impact on residents. Others don't seem to mind the animals.
The cows, this is a problem. These cows should not be here. This is emergency only. He's not an ambulance. So if you're looking for a problem, it's the cows are the problem, not the cows.
In case you're wondering, ParknShop said staff disinfected the area after discarding the fruits and vegetables where the cows ate last night. Naomi Long, TVB News.
The supply of fresh pork resumed today. The city's 2 slaughterhouses reopened after a 3-day closure during the Lunar New Year holiday. Mainland and local farms supplied about 3,300 live pigs today. Some butchers sold fresh pork at a price slightly lower than before the holidays. Traditionally, slaughterhouses take 1 day off on the first day of the Lunar New Year, but this year the closure was extended to 3 days. The goal was to allow a thorough cleaning of the slaughterhouses amid concerns over the African swine fever outbreak on the mainland.
The Immigration Department has smashed a bogus marriage syndicate targeting domestic helpers. A 55-year-old Chinese woman is allegedly the mastermind. Authorities say investigations began in 2017 when a syndicate was found planning false marriages between domestic helpers and Hong Kong residents. The group gained some $2 million from arranging less than 20 bogus marriages. Scammers were even able to speak in the victims' native languages to build their trust.
The syndicate tried to persuade them that by entering into such a forced marriage, they can obtain a dependent visa. By obtaining the dependent visa, you can free to take up any employment in Hong Kong.
KMB has announced plans to enhance safety on its fleet of buses. This includes retrofitting seat belts to protect passengers. But as Caleb Leung reports, the company has no plans to abolish a special shift for drivers.
Bus passengers will get to enjoy safer rides as the year progresses, as KMB has announced plans to upgrade safety features for its fleet.
So the first is the safety belt, which will be installed onto the upper stair. The second is the electronic stability program. And the third one will be the anti-jostless monitoring systems.
Currently, around 200 KMB buses are equipped with seat belts on both the upper and lower decks. KMB plans to retrofit seat belts on all upper deck seats of around 1,000 buses in 2 to 3 years' time. The electronic stability program, which includes a speed limitation device, will arrive in the territory in May for testing. The installation of the anti-drowsiness system for drivers will begin in the third quarter of the year. The system relies on a camera to monitor drivers' eye movements. If the system detected the driver as being drowsy, it will sound an alert to keep the driver awake, while some device will also vibrate the driver's seat. Not so good news for drivers though, as KMB has no plan to abolish a special shift. But it promised to follow the Transport Department's new guidelines starting on April 30th. This means each special shift will not exceed 14 hours, and drivers will get a 3-hour continuous break while on duty. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
All right, Jeff, over to you for sports.
Thanks, Anya. Tributes are pouring in for Argentinian footballer Emiliano Sala. Police have confirmed the body recovered from the wreckage of a crashed plane is that of the Cardiff player. Last month, the aircraft carrying the 28-year-old and a pilot went missing over the English Channel. The striker was on the way to join his new team from French side Nantes. He had rejected a lucrative contract from a Chinese Super League club because of his dream to play in the English Premier League. American baseball legend Frank Robinson has died at the age of 83. Robinson hit 586 home runs in his career, placing him 10th on the all-time list. He was also the only player to win the Most Valuable Player award in both the American League and the National League. The graceful slugger began his career in 1956, just 9 years after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. He later became the first African-American to manage a professional team. To the NBA, and LeBron James had 28 points, 12 rebounds and 12 assists to power the LA Lakers over the Boston Celtics 129-128. James's former teammate Kyrie Irving led the Celtics with 24 points. Meanwhile, the Oklahoma City Thunder downed the Memphis Grizzlies 117-95. Russell Westbrook registered his 8th straight triple-double with 15 points, 15 assists and 13 boards. He's now one shy of the record held by Wilt Chamberlain. To golf, and Phil Mickelson likes the Monterey Peninsula in California. Lefty fired a 6 under 66 and is 1 stroke behind the leaders after the first round of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He's won this tournament 5 times. The 48-year-old hit all 13 fairways for the first time in a round since 1998.